All right, guys, welcome back. Let's talk about cold weather layering. We're getting into the colder months as we approach or enter into fall and approach winter. We got a bit of a cold snap here in my area right now. The low last night was like 25. The highs this week are in like the low to mid 40s. And then by the weekend, I think the highs are going to creep back up to like low to mid 70s. So it's textbook bipolar South Carolina weather. It's kind of a running meme, but it's also less than ideal in a lot of circumstances. So most of my experience on discussing this topic is from, well, I guess probably about 15 years or so, maybe a little more, of working in utilities. And that goes from natural gas, communications, to now a little more than a decade in electrical distribution. And with that being the case, I'm always outside. I spend the majority of my days outside. Most of my work day is going to be outside, probably 90+%. And therefore, I get a lot of exposure to all different weather environments. So we will start with the head. So head coverage. Right here, I got a couple of fleece caps. And this one I think is a Condor or something. This is commercially available. And let me preface this before I go any further. Any and everything here, if you see something that's more of a commercial or civilian market item, there are going to be other items similar, maybe even better, maybe even cheaper, available from the military surplus side. That's the way it is. I do have a good deal of surplus items here as well, but just know that if you're into the surplus stuff, or maybe it fits your budget or your use case better, then that may be an avenue for you to pursue. But I have a mixture of all kind of different items here, and they've served me well. So here I have a very thin fleece cap. This one is flame retardant because it's one that I use at work, and I like the thin profile of it because it fits quite well underneath my hard hat. And that will be a consideration, especially if you're going to be running some sort of a helmet. Maybe you're wearing helmet mounted night vision with a bump helmet. Maybe you're running a ballistic helmet. Whatever the case may be, you may need to consider a thinner head cover to be able to run it underneath your helmet. That's why I really like this one. I've had it for several years, and I wear it pretty much daily when it gets cold because it fits nicely and it keeps my head nice and warm. It covers my ears, and it's a great item. Again, this is a Condor one. You can get these for pretty cheap, and this one's just fleece. Not a problem with that at all. They got multiple colors of these. So that's one way that we can protect our head and keep our head warm, because that's going to be very important. Right here, I have a couple of hoods. This one is a surplus one. It's going to be like Nomex or something like that. I'm pretty sure this one is FR as well. Yeah, fire resistant, made in the USA. And this one has like a vented or mesh top. That way, if you're running it in a little bit warmer climate, then the top of your head can breathe while it's under a helmet. So that one works. And then this is a thicker one that I bought. This one is a FR commercial grade, and I like it a lot. I do enjoy how long the tails are on it. That way I can tuck it into my shirt or my jacket, and that keeps wind or cold air from getting underneath my layers and giving me a chill. So that one works really good. Now we can look at gloves. These are wool gloves, and I picked these up. This is a -33 brand, and they are just a clone of military style wool gloves. These are coming in at 85% merino wool. So good way to keep your hands warm and maintain some dexterity. If you wanted to, you could double these up and run some work gloves or maybe some leather gloves over the top of them. You may need to size up, but again, another option. for keeping your hands warm. That way you can stay functional. And then we can take a look at base layers for the torso. I like these synthetic shirts. These are like polyester. And this one happens to be a Reebok. I found these a year or so ago at Walmart. I liked them. I bought one. Liked the way they fit. Liked the way that they lasted as far as washing and treatment. And went ahead and picked up a handful of these. One thing I would recommend is if you find some that you like, go ahead and get you a few of them before you can't find them anymore, because that's happened to me several times over the years. I'll find some I like and then I won't be able to source them anymore. So I went ahead and grabbed like 4 or 5 of these. And this is a long sleeve synthetic. These are great. They keep you warm. They don't add a lot of bulk. They don't add a lot of weight. They tend to dry very quickly, and they don't harbor sweat and bacteria like a cotton garment would. And they're more comfortable, in my opinion. For what they weigh and the way that they pack down, you can't beat them. I like these a whole lot. So that's going to be a torso layer, base layer for me. And then here is a small jacket. And this one I think I got from Costco or something. It's just an OD green pullover style with a hood. Again, synthetic style material, very light, very thin, but yet very effective in keeping you warm. And what I will commonly do is layer this under a BDU top, maybe with a base layer shirt, one of these, and then a BDU top if it's not super cold or if I'm being pretty active. Because the more active you are, the warmer you're going to get. That's just the way it is. And then right here, I have some base layer like long johns. And these are just, one pair is Wrangler, and then one pair is Fruit of the Loom. And these are going to be synthetic as well. So I really enjoy these for personal use, especially because, again, my line of work has very strict requirements on clothing, even undergarments, because we are subjected to arc flashes, which generate a whole lot of heat, and that can cause issues with melting even when we're looking at undergarments as well, especially talking about synthetic. So you want to avoid this stuff if you are in the electrical trades, because it can cause you a whole lot of trouble in the event of an accident. All right, so moving on, that just covers our long johns. And again, you can get those commercially like what I have here, or you can buy surplus ones. It's totally up to you. We'll take a look at socks real quick. I got some Darn Tough socks. These are going to be wool, merino wool. These are great socks, but they are very expensive. One pair, this pair right here was like $40. So I get it. And you're going to need more than one pair of socks, but over time you can accumulate several pairs of these. But until then, I like these. I got these at like Costco or Sam's, and these are awesome. As you can see, they are very thick, and these are going to be a wool blend. Great socks, very warm, very comfortable, nice padding all through the sole. And I've had these for a couple of years, or probably a few years, and you can tell even right here, the heels aren't worn out or thinned out. That's one thing that you'll notice on socks if you're wearing them often. Some of the less expensive or less durable ones will tend to get soft spots or weak spots here in the heel, and they will begin to break down, and then you got holes in them. These socks are holding up really good, and I like them, and they are very affordable. So be on the lookout for those at Costco or Sam's, especially this time of year. You'll probably be able to grab you a pack of these for a reasonable price, especially compared to something like the Darn Tough. But these are really good, but they are very expensive. So moving on. So let's add another layer. Let's say that it's pretty cold. Right here I have, I think this is a Marine Corps, like waffle top. I think that's what they call these. This thing is awesome. Very comfortable, very warm. It's got like a half zip on it. And this thing, it's great. It's really good. I can't say enough good things about it. Again, these can be found on the surplus market for reasonable prices, and they do a great job at keeping you nice and warm and comfortable. It's just a really comfortable shirt. Then right here we have a Polartec fleece, and this one is in foliage green. Got this one brand new at a gun show, I think. Picked it up, been pleased with it, had my eye on these for a while. These have pockets. They've got loop fields if you need to put identifiers on there or something like that, or morale patches, whatever you want to do, whatever you're into. But of note, neither one of these options have a hood. So if that's important to you, that's something to make note of. But they just don't have hoods on them. But that's okay, because we already looked at some other ways to keep your head warm. So though, these things are great. This one's going to be a little bit more fluffy and bulky than something like this waffle top. But again, it's all a trade-off, and depending on how cold it is and what you got going on, then that may be a consideration. I would typically wear this as a bit of an external layer over maybe the BDU jacket, if that's what I'm wearing. What I commonly like to do is layer, like I said, the base layer shirt, maybe a thin profile hoodie, something like that, and then put that on underneath here. Throw this over the top of it, a BDU jacket, and then I'm pretty good to go. And then, of course, we got BDU pants, both in the M81 Woodland, and that'll usually get me by. Again, this is South Carolina, so it doesn't get extremely cold here. And if you're performing any kind of activities, really, other than just sitting still, you're going to be fine. If you're just sitting still, some of the coldest times I ever spent is sitting in a deer stand hunting. I mean, you're just sitting still, so you're freezing, even when it's not super cold, even if it's here in South Carolina. All right, so I'm going to move these over there, and then we will look at some outer jacket options. This is a commercially available one that I really like for everyday wear, just in general. This is Magellan, so it comes from Academy Sports. And I saw this one, I think last year, liked the print, the style of it. It does have a hood. You do get drawstrings, zipper. You got a couple pockets, pocket here on the chest. And it does have some branding, but you could take care of that and subdue that or black it out if you wanted to. And then it does have another logo here on the back of the right shoulder. That's not a big problem. One of the things I try to avoid is reflective logos or branding, because those can be a little bit more problematic, especially for field use. All right. Moving on to the outermost layer. If it's really cold, maybe it's wet, nasty, maybe it's snowing, maybe it's raining, then we can look at another surplus piece. And this is from the ECWCS system. And these are the Gore-Tex bottoms in M81 Woodland. And I got these in pretty much unissued condition. And these things are awesome. Like I said, if the weather's really bad, then you can throw this on over the base layers you've already built up, like what we talked about. And you do get some pockets. You do get a cord here. There's also suspenders that came with it that hook in here just to help them stay up a little bit better. And then you also get zips here at the bottom of your legs to aid in you putting them on and off, especially if you're wearing boots. That way you don't have to strip down to put this stuff on. And then you also have some hook and loop here so that you can cinch them down, keep that cold air or moisture from blowing in on you. That's going to be important. And then to complete that, for me anyway, is going to be the parka. And this is again in M81 Woodland. And this thing is great too. It's got good wind resistance, and it is going to resist water as well. You do get armpit zippers. That way if you get a little warm, running a little hot, maybe you're doing some physical activity, you can unzip the armpits, get some air flowing, cool yourself off a little bit real quick. You do have hook and loop here on the cuffs, and you also have a drawstring inside that you can take up on and build like this little air dam on the inside. It has a button as well. That way, again, you can keep that cold air from blowing in there on you and defeating your layers. You got a zipper, you got buttons as well with a rain flap. And these things are awesome. If you can find one of these, I recommend getting one. Where I'm from, you're not going to be that cold where this is not going to be good, especially once you combine this with all of the other layers that we already talked about, guys. Now, again, your mileage may vary. Maybe you live in a super cold environment, and if so, you've probably already came up with a pretty good game plan for how you're going to combat the elements when you're out and about. Whether you're doing some sort of a field training exercise, camping, or just a range day during the fall and winter months, having a pretty good idea and a system worked out for what you want to wear and what you want to take with you so that you can stack these layers is going to be very important. And you also have to definitely consider inclement weather such as rain and snow. It took me a while to put all this stuff together. The hardest things to find were the Gore-Tex, but I did end up being able to source that stuff at a gun show, and I got a pretty good deal on it. So keep your eyes peeled, because a lot of this stuff is still available. You just kind of got to take your time and be looking for it. Hopefully this is helpful for you guys. And if you like this type of content, make sure that you interact with the video. Hit the buttons, like, share. If you haven't subscribed already, by all means do so, because that is a great morale boost for me as a content creator, and it's going to help more and more people to see this content, and they may be able to learn something from it. I appreciate you guys. I'm out of here.